operate in truth, right? Operate in truth. Tell the truth.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Gator Truth. Today, we're going to take a look at the 2025 Tennessee Volunteers, and I'm here with my friend Skylar from the Vol Fanatics show. How are you doing, Skylar?
Man, it's a great night to talk ball. It's I think we're about 2.5 weeks away from kickoff, and couldn't be more excited to be here with you. How are you doing,
Oh,
Daniel?
I'm doing well. For those that don't know, Skylar here was awfully nice last year. Let me visit the famed Vol Navy, hang out with
Come
him
on now.
before the Florida Tennessee game, and I've got to say, going into that game, based on how it'd been, he had more confidence we would play like we did than I did. So I've also got to thank you for that, Skylar.
It's a thing called BVS, Battered Vol Syndrome, and just anytime Florida is in town, and we know it's going to be a tough grind, and it was a tough grind last year. But it was a pleasure having you on the boat. I welcomed you very nice when you got on the boat, and it was good to have you.
Oh, it was definitely a good time. Again, thank you. But yeah, today we're here to talk about your Vols, find out, from a Gator perspective, we don't know all the ins and outs, how you look in 2025. Of course, as you said, as this is recorded, about 2.5 weeks away from the first games. So, looking at it from a fall camp perspective, let's start with the offense. How do the Vols look this year?
Yeah, I mean, national perspective, Nico, that situation happened, and really because of that, the expectation, at least the national expectation of Tennessee, dwindled dramatically. I mean, you're talking about a team that finished third in the SEC last year, made the playoff, and you lose a quarterback, pretty much just the quarterback, honestly, if we're being real, and obviously wide receiver room. But from that, they're now projected, I think, 9th or 10th in the SEC. I mean, just quite a bit of a drop off, in my opinion. But, offensively, I think they're going to be exactly what you've kind of seen the last 2 years, and that's run heavy and try to make a splash play happen in the pass game. I think no matter who's going to be the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Vols, I have my suspicion that Joey Aguilar is kind of running away with the starting job. But I got to be honest with you, I attended practice the other day, and Jake Merklinger is looking good. I think he's had good days. I just don't know if he's been able to put it together consistently over the fall camp. Now, George McIntyre, highly recruited 5-star freshman. I just think he knows he's the backup this year. I think that's the talk around town. That's how it's going to be. So, for the sake of this pod and for the sake of the future, I could be completely wrong, but I'm just going to go in it with the mindset of Joey Aguilar is going to be our quarterback. That's why you brought him in from UCLA, but obviously he didn't really play it down at UCLA. He came from Appalachian State, but he's kind of that. Not to compare him to Hendon Hooker, because, man, that just puts a lot of lofty expectations, but it's a quarterback that's flashy, that makes big plays, but obviously made a lot of mistakes, because I think a lot of it had to do with the school he's at. Appalachian State, I mean, not a lot of help around him, right? So he's having to kind of play outside his means. And I think you put him in a system like Tennessee, the offensive line is looking really good. Lance Hurd and the true freshman David Sanders, 2 5-star offensive tackles that he's going to have on his blind side and front side. The guards, I think our starting center, which was our biggest question, honestly, in my opinion, on the offensive line, but I think William Satterwhite's locked that thing down. Overall, I think the protection up front, I know this is going to sound crazy because of all the unknowns and inexperience, but I think the offensive line could be a improvement going into this year. I think the running back room, obviously, you lose Dylan Sampson, but you still had, your 2-back and Deshaun Bishop. You added Star Thomas from the transfer portal, and you also have Peyton Lewis, who is a highly touted recruit in a second full year now. All 3 of those guys, I mean, that's a 3-headed monster there at the running back position. A lot of unknowns there, but I do know Deshaun Bishop just looks like an absolute unit at practice. I mean, dude, it looks like his abs are painted on. So I know that they're fit. I know every athlete gets in shape, obviously, for fall camp, but I'm expecting big things out of that group just because the offensive line, I think, is going to help a lot with that. And then wide receivers, I think, is the biggest question, aside from the quarterbacks. But I think wide receivers is the biggest question for Tennessee. You have a lot of youth in that group. You're going to absolutely be relying on true freshmen like Travis Smith Jr., Rodarius Jackson, et cetera, et cetera. But Mike Matthews, who's only a true sophomore, is kind of a guy that you're going to look in that room to be a leader. And same with Chris Brazel. And Chris Brazel's been kind of battling injury here and there. Actually just got arrested the other day, but nothing crazy, just driving without a license, of course. But you know, all in all, I think the wide receiver group has the most to prove out of the offense. Tight ends is the only other group that I haven't mentioned yet, but Miles Kitselman and Ethan Davis are going to be absolute dogs. I'm probably the most confident in the tight end room than any other, I guess, position on the offense. They're going to be really good. Miles Kitselman kind of had a coming out party against Kentucky last year where he just went nuclear. And Ethan Davis, I think, has got more talent than Miles Kitselman, just a little bit younger. So, no, I think offensively, if they can put it all together, wide receiver room's got to come through. But I'm just very intrigued to see how it all gels. I mean, probably the most turmoil, I would say, in the skill position that you've had to deal with under the Heupel era between the running back, wide receivers, and quarterback. But it's not something that's new to Heupel. I mean, honestly, there's only been one season or two seasons, I guess, for Heupel where he's had the same quarterback, and that was under Hendon Hooker, and he wasn't even listed as a starter in both of those years. So Heupel's kind of used to going into a new season with another quarterback, and I mean, he's kind of the quarterback whisperer as he used to be one. So offensively, looking pretty good, Daniel.
Okay. And so, and I know this from talking to you and listening to what you're saying, but for my listeners, about how many new starters, as you're talking about, needed this offense needing to gel, how many new starters are we looking at?
So I'll just put it this way. I'll tell you who's the returning starters. Lance Hurd on the offensive tackle side, he's a returning starter. And then you have a transfer, but that doesn't count in my opinion. But he was a starter last year as Wendell Moe and Sam Pendleton. And then, but as far as for Tennessee, it's Miles Kitselman, tight end. It's Chris Brazel, wide receiver, and Lance Hurd, offensive tackle. You've only got, and I don't think I'm missing anybody. I think you've only got 3 offensive returning starters. So yeah, a lot of turmoil. Like I said, the most under Heupel, I think, in his tenure. They've got a lot to prove, but it's weird, man. Tennessee, they're so young on the offensive side, but it's going to sound bad because I don't ever want to talk bad on play, but I think they're more talented. I think they seriously, what Heupel's been able to do on the recruiting trail and in the transfer portal and how he picks and chooses what fits the best. I mean, you're going to see the other offensive tackle, David Sanders Jr. He looks like he could be in the NFL today. He's bigger, stronger, faster. I mean, in the huddle, it's like him and Lance Hurd looking down like a whole helmet at everybody else. I mean, that's just how big these guys are. And so, although they are a lack of experience and definitely low in returning and starters, but I do think the talent may have actually jumped up just a little bit. But as you know, this offense runs on running the ball and a quarterback that can hit the deep ball. And if they can get those two, Tennessee could be dangerous this year, especially as a team that everybody's really sleeping on nationally.
For sure. And, you know, I look at Dylan Sampson, obviously, are, you know, pretty much a 1,500-yard back, 1491.
Yeah, I can't replicate that. Don't plan on it.
No, but Bishop last year, looking at his numbers, seemed to do pretty well himself. 450-ish yards, 6.1 yards per carry. So, I mean, like you said, can't necessarily replicate Simpson, but probably a guy who can come in and, based on how this offense runs, looks to be, would you say it's safe to say, at least an 800-yard back?
Maybe. And the only reason why I say maybe is because I think you might see this running back room kind of look like the 23, the 23 running back room where you had your, let's see, Jabari Small, Jalen Wright, and Dylan Sampson. They split carries almost evenly every game. And I think you might see that at least early this year until somebody kind of takes a leap. But I think you still might see 2,000-yard rushing on offense or 2,500 yards rushing on offense like you've seen every year under Heupel. I just don't know if it's going to necessarily come from one guy. This running back room is pretty deep. Although it's a bunch of names to everybody else that they've not heard, right? Peyton Lewis is a true sophomore. Star Thomas is a transfer. Y'all may know Deshaun Bishop obviously from last year, but I just think you might see the three-headed monster where they rotate in and out. And unless somebody really takes a leap and looks apart after a couple weeks of the season, I do think you may have three guys and maybe even the quarterback all sitting at like 700 and below, but all tally up to be, 2,400 yards rushing over the season.
For sure. And that's why I was like putting that number at 800 and not necessarily about the 12 1300, because you had mentioned the backs before, but definitely a dangerous place. But I can say, you're talking about the offense, all the youth that's coming in, and youth can pay dividends down the road, even if for some reason it doesn't this year. So
that's right.
So good to know.
Think I think it's good for hype. Joey Aguilar wins the job. Obviously, he's a one and done kind of player, but
yeah.
I think even next year, the way I look at it in the quarterback's room is they're kind of still in the exact same position they would have been even if Nico would have stayed. I mean, Jake Merklinger and George McIntyre kind of knew this year they would be behind Nico if he had stayed, right?
Right.
That was a very well known, even in their recruitment process. So I think Heupel going out and getting Aguilar didn't really necessarily because I know I've been asked before, what does that do to Jake or George? And I'm just like, man, I think they look at it like competition. At the end of the day, if it's better for the team, they need to be with the program. And if they don't view it that way, then obviously that they're a little bit more, I would say, selfish of a player. I know that's a bit harsh because, obviously, if I'm a player, I'm going to take it to heart if I think I'm about to be the guy, and then you go and get somebody else out of the portal. But at the end of the day, I think they look at it as a challenge. And Jake Merklinger, the job is just as much his right now as it is Joey Aguilar's. And if he wants it, he's got to go get it. And I think as a player, you should want that type of challenge because then you deserve to be the guy, and you'll end up winning your teammates' respect if you go out there and win the job. So, no, overall, it is a youth movement on the offensive side of the ball. But it does excite me this year alone just because, let's go play some ball. But then, like you said, next year, man, I think you'll end up, instead of only returning 3, you could be returning 8 on the offensive side of the ball. And man, we could maybe make some noise. But I'm here in the now. And even if we're young, Coach Heupel said it best in a presser earlier this year, actually just a few weeks ago. You don't have time to be young. It's time to grow up. You got recruited here to play ball, and that's what we're going to do. So, that fired me up. I was ready to run through a brick wall when I heard that. So,
good. And so, moving from the inexperience and youth of offense, let's move to the defense, which definitely seems to have a lot more seniority on it based on what I'm looking at.
It does. Man, I'm excited about this defense. And this is what excites me about the year. Nationally, again, I'm gonna say it, the expectations just dwindled after losing Nico, but I think anybody would agree with me, even the most Florida fans out there that just absolutely despise Tennessee. I think they would look at Tennessee last year and know that Nico didn't really do anything to win a ball game. He actually did more to lose ball games than he did to win them. Arkansas. But almost Florida too, if I must be honest. But with that being said, we won games last year based on Dylan Sampson and most importantly the defense. I think they only gave up 2 games where they gave up 20 points or more. They were just dominant. And you look at the defensive line, and dude, we're still 3 deep. We're looking great on the defensive line. I can't name them all. So many to name, but Jordan Ross, David Hobbs. I could go on and on about the guys that Rodney Gardner, you're going to see. I don't know if y'all are familiar with Kim Caldwell's basketball program, the Lady Vols, and how every 60 seconds she subs a 5-player rotation. It's exactly what our defensive line is going to look like again this year, where he's going to be subbing in 3 or 4 linemen every 2 to 3 downs because that's how he operates. He did it last year. Y'all won't be new to that. But I say this to say this. I say that to say this. We lost James Pierce Jr. last year. We got Joshua Josephs. He's going to step right in. He was already that guy kind of opposite of James Pierce Jr. He's going to step right in and be a dog. Linebacker position, I think, the most excited about. We got 3 starters that will start anywhere. You got Jeremiah Thielander, Arion Carter, and Edwin Spillman. Edwin Spillman's kind of a newer guy. He's a true sophomore. Those 3 guys right there, I think the most talented, and I'm even going to say the most experienced linebacker room Heupel's had since he's been here. We've had Keenan Peely was awesome, but man, he just couldn't stay healthy. And we've had Aaron Beasley, who's a dog, but just not, in my opinion, wasn't as well polished as some of these guys that we have in the room now. Worked hard and deserved everything he got, but like I said, the room that we have in the linebacker position right now is something to be proud of. And I think they're absolute leaders. They're vocal leaders. You needed that guy to step up, and kind of who's going to step up to be that leader. And that's the linebacker room through and through. And then secondary, Gerard McCoy, All-American cornerback. He is coming off an ACL injury, if y'all didn't know that. So I will say this, though. Florida preview, he should absolutely be back for that game. Now, whether or not he's back for Georgia or Alabama, that's a whole nother story. But the way the schedule's flipped, and we play you guys, I think, in like November now, should be definitely ready for that ball game. But we went in the portal and we picked up a guy, Colton Hood from Colorado, and he's definitely been kind of the talk of town of fall camp and how he's been able to step into that role, because obviously expectations are lofty when you're coming in to basically fill Gerard McCoy's role in the defense. And he's been able to do that so far. Now, obviously, I'm not going to expect the same kind of things as an All-American, but if you could just not be a liability out there, that does it for me. Ricky Gibson on the other side, cornerback. He's a dog. He's fine. He got picked on against Ohio State, but who didn't in that game for Tennessee? That was pretty rough. But overall, I think that was just a bad night for us. He's been a great player for the most part, and will be a great player for us this year. A guy that y'all have seen last year is a true freshman. Kind of gotten into trouble this year in summer, but he's locking in. He's back at practice, but it's Boo Carter, who's our star, our nickel, safety. He's a baller. Attitude adjustment, maybe. Come on, like, stop being such a locker room drama queen. But like, overall, when it comes time to suit up and play ball, there's nobody I'd rather have at the position that he's at. Just aggressive, may not know where to line up, but once the ball snapped, he just knows where to be. He's a ball hawk. And I think going into his true sophomore year, he might dip into the offense a little bit. There's some talk of he could, I don't want to call him Travis Hunter, because he's not. Travis Hunter is a freak of an athlete, but to just be able to play both ways, he is dangerous with the ball in his hands. He's a great return man as well. If I were to go ahead and kind of slip in a little bit of a special teams thing, Boo Carter returning the ball, just the ball in his hands, he's electric. So that, and then our safety position, Andre Turrentine, I think it's his third year in the program, but he's actually a transfer from Ohio State. He's kind of not lived up to expectation so far. But if I could say like a guy that nobody talks about but could have a great year, is Andre Turrentine. I mean, he's a senior, needs to be the leader of the defensive backs room for sure. But I'm kind of hoping he's that guy that just takes a massive step that nobody really expects. And who knows, maybe he's that guy. But overall, I mean, the defense, you didn't lose too much. As far as returning starters, if you were to ask that same question, I think we have 8 returning starters on the defense. So a lot better. I mean, that's kind of what you want. I think really all that was safety. Will Brooks, who was a walk-on, is no longer there. And then just a couple guys on the defensive line that have went pro. So still got Jackson Moy, still got a lot of those guys up in the interior. I'm telling you, the defensive line and the linebackers, our front seven, and I'm going to say the front seven on both sides of the ball, that's where Tennessee is going to be, in my opinion, front seven. And this is going to sound super homerish, but like front seven on both sides of the ball, Tennessee may be like a top 5, top 10 team in college football, front seven wise. Skill position wise, though, obviously offensively, they're hurting. But defensively, secondary is still really, really good. So defense, I'm going to put my bread and butter, all my eggs in the basket of the defense, to hope that they can keep us in every ball game, and just hoping that the offense can do just enough to get our goals in check this year.
Sounds good. And before we move on to getting into a little bit of the schedule and asking about a few games, kind of sounds, at least again, looking on the outside in at Tennessee and looking, in fall camp, sounds like in a way Tennessee wants to get in, for lack of a better term, into some dirty slap fights, at least while the quarterback and skill positions get under them. Just use that defense and that run game, try and keep it low scoring and pull it out. I mean, obviously you want to score lots of points.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like
But
Heupel don't want that. Heupel does not want that at all. But I mean, I think that is the recipe as of right now for just the situation he's been put in, and the team's been put in and whatnot. I mean, it kind of sucks to get a 5-star recruit. You pour in everything into him, and then it's just the world of NIL these days, I guess, right? But that's why you recruit every year. You got this next man up mentality, and like I said, Tennessee, yeah, it's ground game, but it's nothing different. It's the exact same last year. I just don't think they necessarily planned for it last year. I think they just adapted to it. So I think this year they're going to kind of go into the same, I guess, game plan of let's kind of go full throttle. Like NC State, we tried to go full throttle, didn't really get off to the fast start, so we wanted to. So then we kind of went to the ground and pound and opened it up, and then defense really opened it up for us. And then we just kind of turned into that kind of team. So, yeah, I mean, it could be the exact same way, but who knows, man? Maybe Joe Aguilar makes the turn, kind of like a Hendon Hooker, like I was going to that comparison earlier. You bring him in, put him in the right system that fits him, get the right guys around him, and then he unlocks to be a really good player because at the end of the day, he's an older guy, experienced guy, and he loves ball, right?
Yep.
But who knows? But, yeah, I think this year, I mean, most Tennessee games are very, very either blowouts in the wrong direction, or if we win, they're usually pretty tight, I would say, especially against you guys. And I would say the top three: Alabama, Georgia, and Florida. So, yeah.
And I'll tell you, when I talk about dirty slap fights, sitting here in
Florida knows all about that, right?
Yeah. Sitting here in fall camp with questions about exactly how healthy DJ Lagway will be. I mean, he's throwing in camp, or at least at the time of this recording, he's throwing in camp, hasn't done 11 on 11 yet. But it's like, even if he's not fully healthy, like you were saying, trusting the front seven on both sides of the ball to do it.
That's right.
That's kind of what we're looking at that time. And that's why, as we're about to transition to your schedule, and talk about that. But like for me and LSU, listeners have heard me talk about that game already. And one thing I think,
game.
Oh yeah. And I think for Florida, we're talking about front sevens. LSU's replacing that O-line, replacing that D-line. And all Florida's heard about is building from high school recruiting, and now you've got it. You've got 4 returning starters on that O-line. You're returning, 3 starters on that D-line, and a guy who missed last season with injury, as well as a really, really good linebacker room. It's time to put up or shut up. And if you have a LSU team that's replacing all that and they punk you, that's not good. But I just say that as you're talking about your front seven. Here in Gatorland, it's kind of.
I just think it's funny how, like, from a national perspective, not that I necessarily care what anybody thinks about Tennessee, because we don't, and usually the national media never has good things to say about Tennessee, rightfully so, I guess. But like, ain't it funny how, like, I'm gonna say old school days, but it wasn't even that long ago. But like, front seven was everything in the SEC. Like, like if you didn't have the best front seven, you weren't gonna win the game. But it's almost like now Tennessee legitimately, and maybe even Florida too. I haven't done my research on Florida, but like Tennessee has, I'm telling you, at least on paper, has the best front seven offensively and defensively. You could, offensively maybe not, but defensively, front seven, the best that you could have. And like nobody even cares anymore. It's like, well, they don't have known wide receivers. Nobody cares about our quarterback competition because it's a bunch of names they don't know yet. And so it's like, okay, well, we think Tennessee may go, 6-6, 7-5. And like, I don't know, as a fan, I'm okay with it, but I think the ingredients are still there to have a special season, but that may be just a bit of a hopeful fan in me, I guess.
It's August.
We can say whatever we want, right?
Exactly. Always time to be hopeful. Time to not be hopeful is when you get into the season, and if things go wrong, which Florida fans have seen the last 2 seasons, that's game 1.
And let me be very clear. I'm not saying championship aspirations,
right?
But in the conversation of playoff, I think is fair.
I mean, the way I say it to people is technically everyone's in conversation of playoffs.
That's right.
Before week 1.
That's right. You are closer than we are if you've seen the AP poll lately. So, I mean, there you go.
fingers
Don't talk
crossed.
about
that,
it.
like
No, fair enough.
I think where we are is fair, and we'll either prove we deserve it and move up, or not prove it and go down. I personally am under the impression that at least and by the time this releases, I'll have talked about the middle four. But for me, I have put out an episode at the time of this recording. Florida should start 4-0, just based on things like we've talked about with LSU.
Yeah.
But then it's that middle four that will be the key. Texas,
October.
Texas A&M, and Georgia, of what kind of season you're going to have. But speaking of schedule, let's go ahead. Let's talk Tennessee's schedule. And of course, you have that kickoff in Atlanta against Syracuse.
That's right.
With this offense that, we're not sure what to expect outside of a pretty dangerous running game. How's that look just from the outside looking in? I'll be honest, I've not done any research on Syracuse, except for I know they beat Miami last year and made a lot of Gator fans happy
And
on that.
that's what a lot of people remember, right?
Right.
I think Syracuse went 9-3 last year, beat Miami to keep them out of the playoff, and I think that's what people remember, and that's what I was remembering going into all season. But then I haven't necessarily done the research on Syracuse, but I've just listened to a lot of I don't know if you listen to like your local sports station that talks all things Florida Gators, whatever. We have one called the Sports Animal here in Knoxville, and man, they're talking like Syracuse has almost lost everybody except their quarterback. So they're not expecting Syracuse to really be good at all. And I don't know where they're pulling that information from, but it's made me feel a lot better about this game. I mean, they're basically making it sound like even if our starting quarterbacks were so bad that they're rotating the rest of the game or whatever to just try to get something, that the defense should carry this team to a double-digit win over Syracuse. I mean, they are so confident about it. I don't know if they're overlooking them. I mean, it sounds like to me they are, but like at the end of the day, I don't know what Syracuse has lost, but I'm hearing from almost every credible source out of Tennessee that due to the front sevens and our defense specifically, Syracuse should be able to score. And so I'm kind of fired up by that statement by them. But at the end of the day, Syracuse is the most important game. It's the next game. If you don't beat Syracuse, doesn't matter what the next game is about. So I definitely don't think that the players are overlooking Syracuse. I think they've already started prepping for Syracuse. But overall, as a fan, I'm going into this game thinking we're winning 100%. And there's several teams on our schedule that I'm not going in thinking that we're going to win. So just FYI, I'm not saying that just because it's my team. I just think Syracuse, ACC, not as strong of a conference. I've been told that they've lost a lot of pieces, key pieces. So I'm just going to go in with that and trust our defense to get the job done against Syracuse in Atlanta.
And probably one of those games you're not feeling as confident about, but you never know. It is at home.
No.
2 weeks later, September 13th, SEC kind of in scheduling decided let's put a few big time games on this date. Florida, Tennessee, or Florida, LSU going on. Usually the Florida, Tennessee, or back growing up, it was the Florida, Tennessee game, third week of the season.
That's right.
Now, instead of Florida, you guys are hosting the Georgia Bulldogs. Does being at home help out with this early season task?
It does, 100%.
Yeah.
This one is tough because as much as I want to say that, I'm confident going into this game, you haven't beaten Kirby since his first year of coaching at Georgia. And that was 3 coaches ago for Tennessee. I think having them at home is a ton better than going to their place. I'll tell you that right now. Look, Tennessee's only lost 1 home game in the last 3 years, and it was to Georgia. After which you started the game very first play on a 75-yard rushing touchdown, and then it just went downhill from there. So Georgia is funny. I think they're also replacing a lot of key pieces, and I'm not been a huge believer on Gunnar Stockton. However, I can't doubt Kirby Smart. I don't care who you are. I don't like Georgia. Probably not as much as you guys, but I just don't like Georgia. But Kirby Smart's proven to me that he's a ball coach. And if he trusts his guy, Gunnar Stockton, then I got to believe that he's going to be good enough to win a game. But if for some reason he's not, it makes me feel a lot better about this game just because at that point I view our quarterbacks as even. And if we can get to that, I trust our defense better than theirs. I do wholeheartedly. And if that is what we have, I know this is going to sound dumb, but if it's a close game in Neyland, I really like the Vols. But if Georgia gets out early and we're having to play from behind, it's either going to get ugly or we're not going to win. I don't think so. But going into that game, I'll be honest, not feeling it. But like I said, if Gunnar Stockton proves to struggle or whatnot, I mean, it's going to be the loudest game in Neyland, I think. Maybe until Oklahoma comes into town. It's going to be loud for Georgia, and if Georgia slips or gives us any reason to pounce, it's going to be a nightmare for Gunnar Stockton and that offense.
And I've been there. I've experienced Neyland. I mean, we were there last year.
It was awesome.
And definitely,
Not really,
I
but-
can say if the fans smell blood in the water, that place gets
That
loud.
overtime was crazy. But
Yeah.
man, they were pissed off until the end. I'll tell you that right now.
Well, the first half they were definitely pissed
Oh
off.
yeah. Oh yeah.
As I tell people, there's a Vol fan next to me in 2022 game, and we're waiting to see what would happen on that final play. And heck, I mean, you guys were up, and when we lined up for the onside kick, he goes, "You're gonna get it," because he just like you
that's the
talked about
BBS,
battered
man.
vol syndrome. He's like, yeah, and then we
Sure
got
enough.
it, and then I still have the play on my phone where if our offensive line holds up just half a second more and Anthony Richardson is not hit as he releases, Justin
He's
Shorter's
wide
behind the
open.
defense because the safeties are watching the quarterback and not watching Justin Shorter run right past him. Of course,
Boy, haven't we
pays
seen
off
that
for
happen
them.
before though?
Yeah.
Back
I
in
was there
Florida,
too.
y'all had the help. Yep. So
Yep.
I'm kind of glad for Tennessee's sake that did not happen again. That would have been, oh my goodness. But yeah, I mean, Georgia not predicting a win there, not even really hopeful in that one. But I think that's okay. Not that it's okay to lose to Georgia, but I mean, Georgia's they're steamrolling right now, right? I mean, they're every year, and they just won the SEC last year. I mean, every year they're consistently top 10, top 5, top 3 of a program, and so like Tennessee, just as of right now, just not there. And I'm as much as I'm a fan, I'm real enough to know that Tennessee just isn't there yet. And if they win, I credit that to the fans, credit that to the players. And maybe credit that to how early we're getting to play them this year. I don't know. Because like I said, they're going through a quarterback change as well, but he has a starter too as well in the playoffs for Georgia last year. So no, it's going to be a tough game, but one I'm not necessarily saying that it's a win right now.
Okay.
If we beat Syracuse by 40 though, I might have to.
Yeah.
I mean,
might change that if
might
you see
have
that offense exploding.
Get excited. You know, we overreact on week 1. Come on now.
Yeah, of course. Week 1's not a great time for us the last 2 years. But anyways,
LSU.
So another fun Saturday for the SEC, October 11th. Florida plays at Texas A&M, and one of the games that's competing for that time slot, as we're on these, different slots depending on how the season's going for games, is the Razorbacks come to Knoxville in what I'm assuming is a revenge game for you guys.
I mean, yeah, it's definitely a revenge game. Funny enough, we haven't beaten Arkansas in a long time. Let's see, they beat us obviously last year. They beat us in the COVID year. I think they beat us in like 17 when we went winless in the SEC. And then I don't know how long it's actually been, but I know it's been a while since we've beaten Arkansas. That's really hard to grasp considering Arkansas at one point was worse than Vanderbilt for several seasons. I mean, arguably probably could be this year. But overall, it's a weird one because it's another one of those kind of like Florida going into Gainesville. It's like one of those things where in your mind, it's like, man, we haven't beaten this team in a while, no matter how good or bad they are. Can we pull it off? But I think this year being in Neyland and Arkansas has got another, their quarterback's coming back and I think he's solid. I just don't know what they have defensively or even the tools around the quarterback offensively to support him in Neyland. And I do think Tennessee, going into that game on paper, Tennessee should absolutely win that game. Should have won it last year. But again, games are not played on paper.
Right.
But this is the preseason, if I can call it that. And so I just gotta go with my gut here. And if I was doing my SEC, Tennessee prediction, schedule prediction, this is a dub on my schedule prediction for sure.
Especially coming off of a bye week, for sure.
Exactly. You got 2 weeks to prepare for it. And I don't know, man. I'm not. I said this last year, and he kind of surprised me. But Sam Pittman, I think, is just kind of getting by, I guess is the best way I can put it. I don't know if he's necessarily going to be there too much longer.
I will say, bringing back Bobby Petrino again to Fayetteville. I mean, their offense week 1 looked a whole lot different than it had looked any other time in Pittman's tenure. So it'll be curious to see what they do in year 2 of Petrino with that offense. Again, I don't know much about Arkansas this year.
And they would have been a game better if they wouldn't have choked so hard against was it Oklahoma State or Oregon State? Yep. They were up by like 3 or 4 touchdowns, and then just, man, I don't know what the heck happened in that second half, but but regardless.
Yeah. I had people telling me, like, because I had tweeted, oh my gosh, this looks like an entirely different team. Look how great their offense looks by making a change. You can see large growth in 1 year just by changing a play caller, because it's been argued by some that that's impossible. And when they choked and lost that game, people were like, see, it's like their offense still looked great. Like, I don't know.
I was gonna say, it doesn't take away from what they did.
Yeah, it doesn't take away from the fact that they came in with like a new offense and put up a ton of yards and points. It just means that A, their defense let them down, but B, they kind of choked it away. But with that said, of course, the next week you travel to breakfast at Denny Stadium to take on the Crimson Tide. Are you going for the Grand Slam there?
I can't. It's hard to beat Alabama and Bryant-Denny, but again, this kind of depends on quarterback play for Alabama too. Ty Simpson 2 years ago, not the guy. But obviously he's won the trust over, been named the starter for Alabama going into this year. They obviously got the best wide receiver in the nation. That's going to help Ty Simpson look a lot better than what I think he is. But who knows? Maybe he's taking that leap. Maybe he's taking that step. He's going to have to if he wants to win this game. I'll tell you that. Tennessee's going to give him their best punch. I will say this. Even in Tennessee's worst years, they've pretty much been able to put up a fight against Alabama for at least majority of the game. Now, sometimes in the fourth quarter, you just see it fall apart. Like in Heupel's first year, man, we went into the fourth quarter with Cedric Tillman and them, and we had them within a touchdown. And then we just fell apart. We didn't have the depth. We had scholarship deductions, you name it, right? And, that is an excuse, but it's real. Alabama has 80% 5-4 star, blue chip ratio, and Tennessee's sitting there trying to play them with 30% blue chip ratio. But obviously the Joe Milton year, the other year under Heupel, going to Bryant-Denny, we were up 21 or 20-6 or 20-7 at halftime or whatnot, and then the second half happened. And again, I think Tennessee's been able to go down there and handle the environment well, especially early off. But how are we going to be able to finish down there? And we haven't been able to finish great in Bryant-Denny. So I think as of right now, without being able to see us play a few games early on, I have to sit here and think that I think we play them well. I think we play them close and tight, because I think that's the identity of this football team this year. But I don't know how we're going to be able to finish that fourth quarter. I mean, let's say we're relying on our defense, and they've been holding them to maybe 13 to 17 points all game long. And then they hit that explosive play in the fourth quarter to break it open, or something that, like, you were just hoping that as a defensive player, you were just hoping that your offense could do something like that to kind of help get the pressure off of you. And then it never came through. And then you do let up the big play, and then you lose by 10 points, but it's like a 24-14 loss, or, 24-10 loss or something, where it looks a little bit worse than maybe what it was. But overall, I do have to say, with the expectations Kalen DeBoer has this year, and the absolute, in my opinion, must be a playoff team for that team, he can't afford to lose to Tennessee. His schedule is a little bit too tight. If he loses to Tennessee, I mean, they still got to play Georgia. And they had a couple other tight games. I mean, they lost to Vanderbilt, but I don't think that's going to happen again this year. But overall, I think they, especially that game being at Bryant-Denny, they've got to be thinking a win on this game. And Tennessee, not that they're thinking that they're going to lose, but I'm just saying, like, as a betting man and whatnot, I just can't bet that Tennessee's going to go into Bryant-Denny and win that game with all the questions that we have on offense. Think it could be a close one. I think it could be a good game. People are going to watch it, period. But overall, right now, I just don't think it's going to happen. Tennessee, Alabama's just got too much on the skill positions above Tennessee. I think they kind of help take the front seven out of the game when you can just immediately quick pass, bubble screen to who, and he makes a juke there, and Williams is down the sideline gone. Something like that. Who knows?
Right.
So yeah, I'm gonna give that one to Alabama as well.
All right.
I can't believe you made me talk about that.
Hey, lots of good info there. For those of us that don't know as much about, or remember as much about recent Tennessee Alabama games outside of watching the goalpost being thrown in the river
That's right.
in Knoxville.
And when they're playing in Knoxville, dude, I mean, Heupel's undefeated in Knoxville against Alabama. I love that record. But yeah, 21 was a great game there. 23 was a great start there. But yeah, I mean, it's fine. We're trying to right the ship with Alabama. It's kind of a streaky series, so it'd be nice if we can prove to beat them in Bryant-Denny. Watch out. I mean, the Vols could maybe write off 3 or 4 in a row if they could get that done. But who knows?
I want to make another Denny's joke, but we'll just lay off.
When is Saban going to be added to that name?
Who knows? I mean, there's,
or is it going to be like Saban Field at Bryant-Denny State? I don't know. Like what?
I could
feel
see
like
that happening.
Yeah, I feel like Saban's got to be up there at some point. I think for his sake, you would want to do it now or sooner rather than. I mean, you don't want to wait till the guy passes away, right? Like, in my opinion, I think he should be named. He should be able to see it for himself before,
right?
Anyways, it's not about him. Screw him. Took away a lot of my years of happiness. I'll be honest.
Took a lot of people's happiness away.
Years ago, though, I got to respect it. Yeah.
So you don't need to give a game prediction here, but Mike and he and I had a recording a few. For those that don't know, Mike is Skylar's co-host. He and I had a recording, I believe it was for your podcast a few months ago now. Oh, yeah. And on that, we talked about, November 22nd.
Come on.
You come to the
30 degrees in Florida. No, I'm joking. No,
yeah, you've got, there's on the 8th, you're off. On the 15th, you have New Mexico State. And it's almost like you have 3 weeks to prepare for Florida. And meanwhile, Florida, November 1st, has Georgia. And I believe we have Kentucky next, followed by Ole Miss. Then we, and both those games are on the road. And then we come home for the first time since mid-October and play Tennessee. Mike and I talked, and what his stance was that even though I said this seems like the perfect, when you look at the schedule, opportunity for Tennessee to break the streak of not winning in the swamp for 20 years. I go, this looks like the perfect opportunity, and Mike goes, that's exactly why it's the perfect opportunity for Tennessee to pull off a surprising loss. And I wanted to get your perspective on that.
I think it is. I think it is the perfect opportunity for Tennessee to absolutely crap the bed, and it would be the most Tennessee thing ever. Look, I'm being honest and you know this, like we've lost in the swamp to some Florida teams that are bad, and even the years where we were, I guess at the end of the year you could say we were mid, but I think we were mid because we lost to Florida. Like that game just killed 15 and 16 in general. Those years we should have absolutely been 10-win seasons, and we go to Florida or Florida comes, whatever. I think we beat Florida in one of those years, but like either way, you go on the road to Florida and it's like, man, they're not even that good of a team. But then just the absolute most bonkers things happens in Gainesville against us. And, I know it's a new year, new team, whatever, all that. But like at the end of the day, that still affects us as a team, as fan base, whatever. But here's what it's not necessarily the build up to the game that scares me the most. And here's I'll just be honest. It's not even the history that of the series that scares me the most. It's Heupel always losing a game on the road at night every single year. And I feel like of the teams that we go and play on the road, I have a feeling this is going to be a night game. And I have a feeling that this is the best chance other than like Alabama, but I'm not going to count that one because that's not necessarily a game you go in thinking that you're going to win. But like for Tennessee going into Florida this year, we should absolutely think it's going to be a win. Aside from the history of the series, just bear with me here. Going in, team to team. If you put a different uniform on Florida and you're going into this game with the same players, like you think you're going in to win this game. But Heupel losing, and I'll give you the examples, you know it, but Arkansas last year. The year before that, it was Florida and Missouri. The year before that was South Carolina on the road at night. And the year before that was Ole Miss, even though that wasn't on the road, but that was a night game that we dropped that. I mean, you could say we shouldn't have lost that one, but there was other games in that season that it was just like, man, we could have won that game for sure. But Heupel has to prove to me that he can't lose a game on the road at night, that he should win. And I know that's kind of that's where it can kind of get a little bit of, you're kind of walking the line there because nobody, I guess in their realistic mind right now says that we should go to Gainesville and get the win against Florida. But I'm also of the opinion that if not now, when? Because if Florida gets that win, if Florida finishes the year 8-4 or 9-3 because they got that win that helped them get there, Billy keeps his job and he continues to build around DJ Lagway because he's got another year and they're only going to get better. So if you don't go get that win in Gainesville this year, I think it's a little scary for Tennessee because it just sets in that much worse and that, the knife sets in that much deeper. But then it also helps Florida, not just as a team, but recruiting wise. Billy Napier can then use that and just soar with it. And Florida fans, however you want to take it with Billy Napier, I think he is a good coach. I think he makes mistakes. I think he also got dealt a bad hand, and somehow, some way, he's at least navigating it. And I do respect whether they really had a choice or not, because I know y'all's athletic director spot is kind of weird, but like y'all have at least given him the time to try to fix it rather than doing what we did. And like after 2 to 3 years, you're gone if you don't win, 9 games, which, like I said, neither here or there, but my take on it is if not now, win. And if we don't get it this year, it like I said, I think it's kind of like that domino effect for Tennessee. And I think Gators kind of get right back to that late teens kind of run that they had. I mean, Florida Gators was on the cusp of being a really solid program, just like they were in the late 2000s, that 07, 08 run. But literally the curse of the cleat throw has just absolutely been a nightmare for you guys. And it's kind of crazy to see how it flipped the script so quickly. Like I talk about that every year, how ever since that guy, I think it was against LSU, who was,
Yep.
It was a foggy game. And y'all made the tackle to like, I don't know if it was to get the ball back or to seal the game or whatever. And he throws the cleat. Y'all know this. But like the way the program just absolutely got decimated after that. I mean, like you lose your coach and then it's been a wild ride. Y'all know that. But I think y'all are on the cusp of a great year. Obviously getting Tennessee at home, y'all have to feel like us with Kentucky, you go into that game knowing you're winning it, right? So, I just think if y'all do win it, it's bad news for us, not just for this year, but also for the years to come.
Yep, and I can tell you for the Billy side of things, a bit as you put it, if not now, when as far as winning at Florida for Heupel, for Billy Napier, it's like for a good record, if not now, when you've got a redshirt senior All-American center returning, a 4-year starter at tackle, a 3-year starter on the offensive line at one guard, 2-year starter at the other guard.
Y'all have
position.
all 11 returning, right?
No.
Oh, I thought I heard that. I
No,
heard
no.
the offense was returning like all 11, and I was like,
Oh,
whoa,
no.
okay,
No.
okay, right on.
But we're returning number 11, who was dangerous when he got the ball last year. The question was, why do you not get it a little bit more? But that's a discussion for another time.
Sure.
Before we get out of here, so we've talked about, Tennessee not getting as much respect as far as results wise after Nico leaving.
Totally okay with that too. It's totally fine.
And we've talked about, if, not now winning at Florida or whatnot. What would be a good year in your mind for Tennessee?
9-3, 100%. 9-3. And that's probably losing to Georgia and Alabama. And then you either beat Oklahoma or Florida. I think that's the idea of a good year. I think that's Heupel gets a little bit of a lenient. I mean, obviously, what happened. You don't use that as an excuse. You still think you can go out there and win with the guys that you got. But I think, like, as far as his job security, if he goes 9-3, people are going to be just as happy knowing that you're going to have a great competition this year and the quarterback spot between Jake Merklinger, George McIntyre, and another 5-star quarterback and Fajon Brandon coming in. So I think it's a good reset year for him. But overall, 8-4, in my opinion, is just a disappointment. And then if we go 10-2 and make the playoffs, just give Heupel, in my opinion, you give Heupel SEC Coach of the Year. Only because of how the national media has treated the team, in my opinion, with the lower expectation. If he finds a way to make the right moves in the quarterback room and maybe the wide receivers, because they are talented, just inexperienced. If they do have a great year and this team finds a way to go 10-2, I don't see how you can't just sit back and clap your hands to Josh Heupel and be like, man, that's rather impressive after spring losing your starting guy and being able to make it work and go to the playoff, in my opinion.
If you finish 10-2, I completely agree about that coaching job.
We could very well go 10-2 and lose to Florida. Like, that's just like, that would be how it happens too. Like, we beat Alabama or we beat Georgia and then lose to Florida at the end of the year.
Oh man.
And then miss out on the SEC championship. Like that's how it could happen. I'm telling you. Which then you might have to start talking about. But no, I'm joking. I think 9-3 is the bar.
All righty. Well, before we get out of here, Skylar, where can we see you, see your work, listen to Vols Fanatics show? Tell us all about it.
Yeah, if y'all want to come in and talk some schmack on the chat, y'all could definitely tune in to us. We go live every Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern. And you can find that at the Vol Fanatics show on YouTube, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, Apple Podcast, wherever you get your podcast. But if you want to watch us live, I would recommend YouTube and Facebook at Vol Fanatics show. But if you want to catch it on the way to the gym or something like that, Florida fans probably not so much, but definitely if y'all want to tune in on the live or something, y'all be sure to tune in.
And I can tell you this: I did tune in to Vol Fanatic show a few weeks ago, and
we have a preseason prediction for you guys up on the pod.
So definitely check that out, as you'll see some of my comments come popping up for Skylar and Michael to answer. But with that said, Skylar, it's been a pleasure having you on and learning all about, the mindset of Tennessee coming into the year, since I've heard of all the turnover on offense and, of course, the Nico situation. So it's been very good to see what it's like, from the perspective of the Vols.
That's right. No, Daniel, I appreciate the opportunity to come on here and talk a little bit about ball. You know me, I could talk forever on ball. That's just what we do. That's why we're here. But at the end of the day, as much as I hate Florida, you've been a pleasure to be around. It's always nice to have you around.
Always nice talking to you. And with that said, everyone, thank you for listening. And as always, go Gators.